Today I want to talk about a couple of little breakthroughs that I've had with Viking gains and with quick cuts and explain what the differences are in the new formula that I have for each of these. And it's a pretty good improvement, and in a couple of different ways. I'm going to show you how. Number one, just to make it simple, go down here to Viking gains and we look at the label here. If you'll notice here, we've now got 66 milligrams of plant sterols, and that is actually the same. Oh, we've got just slightly more in the get pump. That's true. Because of offset of other ingredients in the mix, it does offset that by about 9 milligrams. But it's almost got as much as get pumped. It's almost like getting a full bottle get pumped with the other stuff in it. Because there's so much else in it, it's kind of changed the volume concentration slightly. It's unavoidable. Take a look here. We've now, instead of having 33 milligrams per serving, we've got 66 milligrams of plant sterols, the exact same thing as get pumped. We used get pumped as a base for this. Then we add in the acetyl L-carnitine, and we actually complex that to some extent just to help it absorb better. The permeation enhancers help quite a bit on that as far as sublingual goes. But exact same plant sterols as in get pumped, almost as much. 33 milligrams of Genistein. This is the big addition. Now, I'll put up a couple of short videos showing how this works, but essentially, Genistein acutely stimulates insulin secretion in pancreatic beta cells. That's your main way that we secrete insulin. And it also improves the health of those beta cells. So by having Genistein in this mix, we're getting a boost of extra insulin to help us put away the nutrients that we're eating. We're getting the sensitivity from the L-carnitine and the blood vessels opening up and the increased, IGF-1 pathway stimulation through the plant sterol complex. All of that together really should help get more nutrients to the muscle. And just to demonstrate that, here's a couple of quick videos that I took the other night when I was testing this out. And this is a separate product that I'm going to make. It's complex Genistein just for stimulating insulin secretion. But I've added a certain amount of it to Viking gains. And what I did is I took 2 servings of Viking gains just to demonstrate this, okay? And I had just got, not just, a couple hours before I had eaten 2 double quarter pounders with cheese, okay? So it wasn't a small meal. It was a full pound of beef, all the buns, the ketchup, the whole bit, right? So these are from McDonald's, the 2 double quarter pounders with cheese. I waited 2.5, maybe 3 hours, somewhere around there. So 9:30 and then at midnight, I think. So 2.5 hours. And then I took that first blood glucose test. And if I remember correctly, I'll have to throw the videos up, but it was 130 something. And after 10 minutes, it dropped. And I'll show you, it dropped again. And after right about an hour, a little less than an hour, it was measuring 100 on the dot consistently. So I took several tests just to make sure there weren't flukes or variations, and this is what we came up with. So that's not even a full serving of the Genistein. Well, that would be equivalent to a full serving of Genistein, but in this case, you get a half a serving on that in your Viking gains. So if you want a full dose of that, you can take two servings of Viking gains, have a whole bunch of ecdysterone, have more of everything if you'd like. So that's okay, but I just wanted to demonstrate that. It dropped at 30 points in right about an hour. Do you know anything other than insulin or metformin or berberine that would do that? And the way that it does it is great for bulking because it actually raises insulin level. You're not shutting off that pathway like with berberine or metformin. You're actually increasing the insulin pulse, okay? That's what we want to put away all the nutrients when we're trying to add muscle. That's huge for Viking gains and makes it a much more potent product. Not to mention, we've doubled the sterone. So you're getting almost a full bottle of Get Pumped with it. Plus for an extra $5, you're getting a lot of acetyl L-carnitine in a sublingual form. You're getting a lot of potent Genistein in a way that will stimulate insulin secretion and actually help over time, as the studies say, it will help heal beta cells and protect them and help pancreatic health. So win-win. Okay, so what's different and what's new about quick cuts? First of all, the same thing as with Viking gains. We've doubled the amount of plant sterones overall in there. And again, it's the same amount. It's the same base, and it's offset about the same amount after we've added all the extra ingredients. still have 66 milligrams of berberine, and the reason that's such a small amount is because it's complex, there's permeation enhancers, and we're going through a sublingual route. So we're not using a gram to try to get less than 1% out of it and mess our guts up and make us feel weird and everything. We're going to use a small amount, let as much of that as possible absorb sublingually and buccally, and that gets it straight into the bloodstream. Berberine, ecdystrone, and a lot of these types of things are very hard to digest, and oftentimes they have about a 0.8% absorption rate. Berberine's one of these things. But what's the big difference maker in the new formula for this, besides doubling the sterones? We've added NAD+, and it may not seem like a whole lot, but what we've got is pretty much a month's supply of NAD+ in each bottle. Now, when I say month's supply, I'm talking about when you would go to get a drip of NAD+, an IV drip, you're going to do something like 500 milligrams to maybe up to a gram, so 1,000 milligrams. So what we do is we have 1,000 milligrams in each bottle. Now, are you going to absorb and utilize every single bit of that? No. Using the sublingual route, and with it complex the way it is, permeation enhancers, the whole bit, expect to get up to about 45-50% of that through, and maybe more, maybe a little bit less. But the point is to give you a nice, healthy dose of that. Your starting dose at a drip clinic would be, let's say, 500 milligrams, right? So that's going to last you a month. That's going to boost your levels through your whole body. Taking this 3 times a day for a whole month, which is what a bottle gives you for $29 instead of $500 at a clinic, right? Or $200 or whatever it is. Taking this 3 times a day consistently like that keeps a steady supply going in, lets your body absorb it, and lets your body adjust to it gradually. Now, what's the point of all this? NAD actually helps with fat loss, and it's one of those things that if you're very young, very healthy, very athletic, you're not going to take a little bit of NAD and go, oh wow, my life's changed. But as you get into your 30s, 40s, etc., you begin to have less metabolic efficiency, less metabolic health, and that's where NAD seems to work the best, is it improving metabolic efficiency, utilizing fat cells, converting them, or stored fat, energy, and converting that back into energy and away from fat. And you can go to PubMed, weight loss associated with increased NAD, certain one expression, yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of studies on NAD. It's well known. The problem with taking it orally is that it's metabolized and broken down in the gut so quickly that it becomes metabolites of NAD, as opposed to just being NAD, which is why NMN was so popular, right? Because it would become NAD. Now they've taken that off the market. So that's why I came up with this, was to look for a way around that issue so we can get NAD directly. And this is how we do it. Complex it, that stabilizes it, makes it a lot less fragile. Also, light molecular weight items like NAD don't digest so well, they don't take sublingually so well, but when you encapsulate that in hydroxypropyl beta cyclodextrin, it adds, it's like 1,500 plus molecular weight now, it's grams per mole. And for some reason, those heavy molecules like that seem to do better with sublingual, buccal, and even gut digestion. And that's why we do it with our plant sterol mix, it raises the oral bioavailability alone up 3 times. So something like 3% versus 0.8. So sublingually, with the permeation enhancers, we're getting a lot of NAD in the system. And this isn't something I'm using a lot of right now because I'm actually trying to gain muscle mostly. And when I do lose fat, I'm fasting and doing some strict stuff. So I use a little here and there just for the energy boost. But my girlfriend, who has lost over 100 pounds in the last year and a half, is kind of at that point where she's hitting a plateau and just has that little last bit to go. Since she started using the new formula a couple of weeks ago, she's dropped significant fat. She has actually put on a little bit of muscle, I don't think from the NAD, but just through better utilization of nutrients and, her own weight training and stuff like that. But you can see like a recomp happening, and she's actually down a few pounds. So I can see that it works for her. That's the kind of person that really would want to have this as their steady. The berberine greatly helps with insulin sensitivity, but for me, I don't want to take that all the time because it can actually blunt muscle growth. And so I would use this as a bodybuilder, as a cleanup, or as a dieting aid, or at night before bed, just to kind of clean up the excess carbs, restore some insulin sensitivity, and provide for that good rest and that metabolic health through the NAD. Now, if you're overweight and you really just want to shred, keep some of this around. Anyway, those are the big updates. Haven't taken anything out, doubled the plant sterols, added very strong ingredients. The NAD Plus itself is probably just as expensive as the rest of the stuff that was in the bottle, and it's only $5 more than the Get Pumped. And so we're trying to make it so that if you lean one direction, like you're too thin and you just really need to put on size, get the Viking Gains. That's a good bargain because you're getting a whole bottle of Get Pumped almost. It's a little bit less, but as much as will fit. And then you're also getting the benefits of the soy isoflavone extract, the genistein for the insulin support, and the acetyl L-carnitine for the androgen receptor sensitivity and carb storage and things like that. So, and then again, if you're on the heavy side and you want to really just kind of work your way down, get the best metabolic health you possibly can, the best insulin sensitivity you can, get the quick cuts. And again, it's not, if you're a bodybuilder and you're using various PEDs and things like that, it's not going to blunt your muscle growth. But what it will do is cap the amount of carbs that are stored. And that's what it's for. It's to clean that up, keep your insulin sensitivity good, keep you from spilling over, keep you from trying to store too much in the fat, that sort of thing. And you'll be surprised. If you're a little fluffy and spilled over and you got some muscle under there, watch. Take the quick cuts for a few days at night even, just before bed. And you'll start to see that everything tighten up a little bit. A little more carbs in the muscle, a little less water under the skin, that sort of thing. The NAD Plus helps with the metabolic health and efficiency, all of that working together. Nice cleanup, nice thing to have on hand. So that's the updates for those. That's what those do. I hope that makes sense. Not the most exciting video, but I just wanted to put a good informative video to say, hey, we've improved this, and I think it's worth trying. So that's that. Thank you.